Good evening, owners, ladies and gentlemen. Week 1 is over. Welcome to Hardcore Challenge Live, the official webcast of the Hardcore Challenge, the pinnacle of fantasy football competition. So, thank you for joining me. As always, we had an exciting Week 1 in the Hardcore Challenge. So, first, obviously, we need to give big props to the number one. Two number ones. The number one on the power rankings. Number one on the power rankings. Sorry, I don't rock the star, my man. We don't rock the star. We rock the shield here. But, using the number one overall pick in the NFC, the Pack Attack is back. Rattled off a very impressive 180 points to become the highest scoring team in the NFC. Very impressive Week 1. I feel a little sorry for Zach in his premiere. Owner of the Bears pulls off a 161 point game in first week, and it's still a 19-point loss. That's got to piss you off. Now on the other side, even a little better, and a new owner to the league, Bleeding Green, with owner Brett Marsh, 182. Both impressive Week 1 performances. Both impressive Week 1 performances. The NFC was much more of a shootout, as the AFC was much more of a was really not as close. It was a runaway. King Salami did not even bring a mat. Didn't even bring it. So, got to give props to them. Now, next, we need to touch on our game of the week. Our game of the week that turned out to not be much of a game of the week. New owner, Kristen, owner of Mob Adjacent, facing off against Carol, former champion owner of I Am Groot. Our first female owners facing off against each other in a long time. The first time we'd had more than one female owner in the league in quite some time. Carol had been our only female owner for several seasons. Adding Kristen, now there's two. They're in the same division. They faced off, but it wasn't a matchup. Mob Adjacent did not show up, did not get off the bus, only posted 79 points, the lowest score, one of only two teams that posted in only double digits, and had a terrible opening showing in the Hardcore Challenge. Was not how they wanted to come out and put their stamp on the Great White North NFC. So it was not a matchup, as it was a easy victory for I Am Groot as they cruised to a 1-0 victory. Now, the other game that I was considering for Game of the Week, which was Stinky Pinky and Tama Tears, just due to the history in that game, turned out to be one of the closer games at a 117-115 finale with Stinky Pinky edging Tama Tears again. That rivalry just seems to go back and forth, and that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I have it coming down to those two teams battling it out for the division crown when it comes down to the end of the Wild West. I completely see that as happening again, as it has for the past 3 years. So I don't see that as anything new. Now there were some good showings. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the defending champ, Tom Mandick, looks solid. Knox Vegas Anarchy, a mediocre score of 124, but a win's a win. They're 1-0. They're 1-0. Bison Broncos and Pale Horsemen both come out with the victory in the Elite East, as both of the newcomers in the Elite East AFC both leave with a loss, as the Stone Ponies and the Big Dog both with mediocre scores. Actually, the Stone Ponies, see, that's what fantasy football It's all about winning your matchups week to week. Because the Stone Ponies, they would have beat me by 1 point if I would have played them. But they lost their game because the team that they had up against scored 149. So, I mean, that's just fantasy football. Now, the Wild West, Bleeding Green, I mean, 182 points in week 1 came out of nowhere. Dude, can they maintain that, or was that a week 1 fluke? We're going to have to wait and see. Stinky Pinky was able to take the tight victory, as I mentioned, over Tama Tears. That leaves Tama Tears and King Salami, who only scored 111 and 115, questioning themselves a little after week 1. The Beaver Street Roar and the Silver and Black Attack, both with victories in the Dirty South. And as you may have seen, lines have been drawn in the sand. Shots have been fired. And he's calling me out, and I'm calling him out. I'm going to knock him to the side, and I'm heading for All-Pro Afro next. It's going to be a 1, 2, 3 combo. Dirty South knockout out of the gate. Just saying. Calling it. Then I'll head into the rest of the conference. We'll see how it shakes out from there. But I'm seeing a sweep through my first round of divisional opponents. The Jets coming to Oakland this week. I think that fares well for me. Now, looking over at the NFC, Skull Crushers and I Am Groot, two of the teams that I picked to be the strongest teams in the Great White North NFC, both came out, both looked solid in week 1. Vandalay Industries and Mob Adjacent, they did not look great. Vandalay Industries obviously looked better than Mob Adjacent, who was the cellar dweller for the entire league in week 1. In the Elite East NFC, Pack Attack is back, and the Knoxville, formerly Oski Assassins, were the only teams to win, and both look solid. Knoxville Assassins changed their zip code, but still laid it down, putting down a solid 158. Like I said, I still feel sorry for the Bears. How do you put up 161 and lose? It's brutal. It's brutal. And take it deep with a fairly decent 136 score, but did not pull out the victory. Did not pull out the victory. Brian, I picked them to win that division, so we'll see if they turn it around. Now, Mo Betta Butta. Now, Mo needs to get a logo. He's rocking the generic gray helmet, and that's unacceptable. You got to get a logo. But he scored a solid 174, and that was impressive. The next highest scoring team was 127, which was Renegade Misfits, in a loss. So that was a very impressive score, as Donkey Punch scored 99 and Ghostman only 110. So they look like possibly the front runner after week 1. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, the other Dirty South, the NFC Dirty South. Average Joe, a playoff team from last season. Formerly, They See Me Rollin', Lick My Rawls, and the Gents. Now, Average Joe, 155, led the division in scoring, followed by Achilles, who's also rocking the generic gray helmet, needs to get that fixed, Craig. The Bandits and the Dirt Dogs at 114 and 109, both rocking the 0-1. Willie the Bandits was hurt big by, he's a Buccaneers heavy, and the unexpected bye week in week 1, I know, hurt his roster without having Jameis Winston, his go-to guy at quarterback. So we'll see if he can bounce back in week 2, having his full squad available. So there were some trophies and awards handed out. The Unreal Combinations Trophy. Alex Smith and Adam Thielen for I Am Groot. I Am Groot also got the highest scoring bench for leaving Alex Smith on the bench. So T-Well got that as well for leaving Alex Smith on the bench. If Zeke and Destroy would have started Alex Smith instead of Dak Prescott, they would have won. So, there you go. That's what you get for going with the Cowboy. That's what you get. You went with the Cowboy. That's what you get. You got a L. Loss. So, it was an exciting week in week 1 of the Hardcore Challenge. Got some smack talk popping off. I hope to see you all go ahead and get included in that. Go ahead and get included in that. So, hey, it's the truth. If he wouldn't have went with the cowboy, he would have won. Went with his heart instead of his brain, and that's why he got the L. Can't always go with your heart in fantasy football. This is the first season I've had a heavy Raider roster in a long time, only because the Raiders are one of the top teams, so having a heavy roster of a top team is not that bad. Even though we were vicious. We were only vicious because you're a knucklehead. I went to bed knowing I won, and then Joe calls me. I get a phone call. Okay, here's how it happens. It's literally, I was up late the night before. I was watching the game, and I knew I didn't have to work. And so I get a phone call at like 9:30. I'd got up. I hadn't even been on dinner. I hadn't looked at anything. And Joe's like, man, did you see... You lost. I'm like, what the hell do you mean I lost? He's like, you gotta go look on the page. You're getting called out. I'm like, what are you talking about? I won. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, seriously, you lost. I was like, I didn't lose. What the hell are you talking? So I go on there and I'm like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? And I went and looked and I seen the error immediately because I knew what it was. And I seen it was a goof. And that was just hilarious. That was hilarious. So, but yes, this is all in good fun. And, hey man, that's what the league's all about. And, you know, in all seriousness, though, you know, I do plan on smacking Beaver Street Roller side and All Pro Afro the same way in the next week. So, just so you know, I plan on running through the Dirty South the first go through, and then we'll see how I fare in the rest of the conference. But I'm sorry. Amari Cooper, Derek Carr combination with the Jets coming to town. I'm going to get the double tap on the touchdown several times, and we'll see. But we've got some exciting games coming up in week 2. Tune in to Hardcore Challenge Live tomorrow night. Hold on. Pause. Rewind. Hold on. I seen a comment out there and I want to touch on that before I wrap up. IR has been a hot topic. I just literally got done with the conversation about IR right before I got on. I'm glad you brought it up, Corey. Thank you. Let me touch on that before I get off. It's a hot subject. Injured reserve is only for injured reserve. Injured reserve. If it does not say IR behind the guy, then you can't put him in there. If they're suspended, like Willie, he did it by accident, but Willie put Doug Martin down there yesterday. Doug Martin is suspended. He cannot be a reserve spot. Now, the computer will allow you to do that because a reserve spot to NFL.com can be used for any number of things. However, our league rules specifically state the reserve bench spot is only to be used for injured reserve. So if it does not say IR after that player, then you can't put them there. Now, I just had it come up. Ben, owner of Stinky Pinky, has Kenneth Dixon. Kenneth Dixon has been placed on IR by the Ravens. However, Kenneth Dixon was suspended for 4 games. If you had Kenneth Dixon on your team, you know that you were not going to be able to use him for 4 games. You would not be able to use him until the 5th game. Now, when he comes off of suspension, because he has now been placed on IR, then you can, if you want to keep him, you can move him into your IR position in week 5. But he was suspended before he went on IR. Therefore, he is suspended first. And he cannot be placed in your IR position until his suspension is lifted, and then he is IR only, and then you can put him in there. So, if you have a question about it, please ask first. Do not have a guy. Don't let us catch you with a guy down there if it doesn't say IR on their name. We will be policing it, but we only police it, as we're policing everything else. We're not specifically looking for it. So, understand, injured reserve spot is only used for IR. If it doesn't say IR behind the guy's name, ask before you put him down there. because you don't want to get caught. The other owners will catch you before we will. That's what happened last night. This league pretty much polices itself. Most of the owners know the rules, and no, you can just move them down into the reserve spot on the bottom of your bench. There's a reserve spot. You can move them down there if they're on IR. That way it doesn't take up a bench spot to keep that player. So if you have a guy, say it's a keeper. Say your quarterback goes down. Say David Johnson goes down. That's why Corey's asking. Say David Johnson goes down and he's on IR. You don't want to drop him because he may be a keeper for you next year. You will then place him on your injured reserve spot so that you don't lose a bench spot and you can still carry him and possibly keep him for next year. That is what the injured reserve spot is for. Basically, that situation exactly and to the T is a keeper that goes down. You don't want to lose a bench spot for the entire season. You can place them in injured reserve and still carry them into your next year, and it won't hurt you for this year. That's why we made it. That's what it's supposed to be used for. Not for your guy getting popped for smoking weed and losing 4 games. Not for your guy taking PEDs and getting suspended. That's not what it's for. It's for your guy getting hurt, and it's possibly a keeper or a guy that's important to your future. That's why we put it in there. So, there you go. Thank you, Corey, for bringing it up. I understand you need it because, your number 1 overall pick just went down for 3 months. So, thanks for joining me. Tomorrow night, Game of the Week episode. We will name the Game of the Week, break it down, and I'm going to reach out to the owners, see if I can get 1 or 2 of the owners in the Game of the Week on for either a video or a call-in interview tomorrow. So, thank you for joining me. Another edition of Hardcore Challenge Live. The official webcast of the Hardcore Challenge, the pinnacle of fantasy football competition. 2017 is underway. Are you ready for the challenge? Good luck. Game on.